Estate agents tell me all the time they haven't got any time to do anything. Talk to me.
Well, at least they're not just telling us that. I thought it was just us and we were getting it as an excuse.
They ain't got time to business generate. They ain't got time to ring out people. They ain't got time to match. They ain't got time to do anything. Why?
I think email is the biggest thief of time that I've ever come across in my entire life. You can spend 5 to 10 minutes compiling one email where you could have just picked up the telephone and had a quick 30-second call and put it down again and done another one. I know I'm probably generalising.
But then I ain't got time to put the notes on the system.
Yeah, wouldn't that be a dream where your notes are automatically loaded?
Hey, there's a prop tech for you.
Yeah,
there you go.
Absolutely. Bit of voice
Prop
recognition.
tech. James Dearsley, this one's for you. Yes.
Well, the time thing is a classic. I think, personally, having struggled my time in agency many years ago when I was coming through the ranks and then was shown the light by my colleagues, it comes down to, are you prioritising your tasks? There tends to be an approach by many people we see, and I think we're probably all guilty of it, is everything you have to do, you try to do at the same time or you try to do that day without thinking what could seriously wait till tomorrow. What is urgent right now and very important, and actually make a plan, prioritise its factors for any business, any industry, for all of us. One thing about our time in agency is it's incredibly valuable if utilised correctly.
Yes.
And if we don't spend it well enough, then we're giving it away, which is kind of crazy, really.
So what top tips, because I know you train a lot of agents in time management, what top tips have you got for the guys out there in estate agency and letting agency land?
I think I would have to start with the fact that please don't confuse customer service, good customer service, with just being constantly available to do everything all of the time. And essentially, my favourite phrase is, don't let the tail wag the dog. We are professionals. We should be positioned as these professionals, and therefore we must control our time. I think we use the word control a lot in our training. And this is not to say that we don't want to give the best customer experience to our home movers, but it's very much to say, how can I deliver the best service, which sometimes involves making myself unavailable for an hour because I'm going to ring their property out, rather than just being disrupted constantly. So my first sort of thing that I would say is, for sure, remember that you're the professional in this relationship.
So ruled out time.
Protected time.
Yeah. Protected time is always very, very important. I came from that environment and it was a saviour for us, in fairness.
Anything else?
Structure. Sometimes there is a huge lack of it, and some of the businesses that we've worked with and we've implemented structure into now have seen increase in productivity, increases in fees, increases in net sales across large branch network, just from implementing a little bit of structure. I'm not talking about rigid to the nth degree. We have to, we're in a busy world.
Okay, what does that look like in the real world?
Well, I mean, the real world, first of all, is understand what job we're doing.
Yeah.
We're in lead generation. Estate agency is all about generating
Sure, we're here to
leads.
sell houses, aren't we?
We are to sell houses. We need to get the houses to sell first as well. So if we're in lead generation, I remember many, many years ago walking into a branch I was privileged to lead, and there was nothing in the diary. I use this example now. And I said to the manager, there's nothing in your diary for the next few days. And he said, no, it's all automatically booked out for trying to list. So my time is already there to be listing. I put things in the diary to stop me trying to generate listings, which I always like that fact. It's like, what would you do if you opened an agency tomorrow? You'd spend all your time trying to generate stock. So I think you've got to be very, very protective with your time, as Sarah said. Top tip is, what stuff are you doing every day that's stopping you generating listings or selling the houses that you're privileged to sell? And be very cautious with what you put in the diary. And if it goes in the diary, particularly things like appraisals or viewing appointments, all these sorts of things, then be clever with your time.
Do you think the valuers should be doing the viewings?
Valuers doing the viewings. I think it very much depends on the type of the agency model that they have. But I think certainly, and again, other examples we've seen, you'll have somebody going to a house to do 2 viewings at 2 different times of the day. So that's kind of crazy. That's 4 trips.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, surely with a bit of more clever use of time, and a bit of planning perhaps, and a bit of structure, they could have.
Yeah, but what if one person said, I can only view in the afternoon and one said, can I do in the morning?
And this is what I'm talking about, the tail wagging the dog. Sometimes we confuse giving a customer service is bowing down to exactly what that viewer on that particular day wants. And I'm not saying we shouldn't be accommodating, by the way, in any stretch of the imagination, but sometimes it's got to be about us. You wouldn't ring I'm using this as an example, a Gordon Ramsay restaurant and say the busiest one in Mayfair and go, I'm going to be there at 7:30 Saturday night, you better have my table ready. And you'd sort of get laughed out the door because they probably haven't got that available slot. So very much about just being very respectful with it and actually tying it into the fact that they're going to need to come at X time or Y time. Give them some options. Don't just make it about the only time, but give them some options. That is going to be the best thing for our vendor customers.
That's quite important. If you give a human being, if you say no and give them one option, they'll say no. If you give them 3 options, they'll say no. But for some reason, if you give them 2 options, they always pick one.
Yeah, option. It's an option close. It's a classic closing technique. Options. Would you like 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock? Not what time would you like?
Yes.
And this is back to the key point about time
Quite
management.
simple, yeah. Quite effective.
It's hardly ever done though, because there's a fear that if we don't say yes, they won't view it and someone else might get it and I won't get the deal, which is kind of crazy. But ultimately, what's wrong with, as Sarah said, we're professional estate agents, so we protect our clients, and therefore the property's available and I'm available to show you around at this time or that time. Which one would you want? We know that customers they want to tell us, I want to see it on my terms, but they can't.
It's quite simple, but yet effective. So we've got protected time and structure. Is there anything else?
I think just knowing your worth a little bit as well.
Yes.
I think
What, in here and here?
there is a bit of a mindset thing going on, and another buzz phrase. You can tell how many management books I read and various audio books. But
How to manage avocados as well.
Yeah.
We read quite a lot as well.
yes, I'm a millennial. But that whole idea that we sometimes estate agency is the forgotten profession in a way. Most people have tended
Just
to
an answer, don't you?
got into it, because they weren't sure what else to do, and then actually found out they love it. And it's a great industry to be in. I know I speak for Brian and me when I say I absolutely love it, but I know you do too, Chris. But it's that idea of just be really proud of what you do, be proud of your time, and know your worth and your value, and don't let sort of outside influences dictate to you. And I think that's my sort of strongest point on this.
Where does that come from? The top?
It has to come
Culture.
from the top. It's the culture of the business environment. Absolutely right. We have examples where we implement a time management strategy for people, and there's a lot of resistance to, well, I've got to do it at 10 o'clock. And the point I made, which was made to me many years ago, is if a buyer says to you, I can only do it at 10 o'clock this morning, what, for the rest of your life?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. Well, I can't, I'm sorry, because if you want to see the house, it's available at this time or that time. And back to your option.
Once you get into the discipline of it, it's like anything. At first, it hurts. And then once you get the discipline and you actually put a bit of structure in place, you wonder why you haven't done it before. Or, as we keep finding at the moment, you wonder why you stopped doing it. Because a lot of people used to have a structure and they go, we used to do this. Why did we stop doing it? And that could be the whole right move receptionist thing again.
We did that in a previous video, didn't we? Guys, thank you very much.
Thanks.